So recently, Sony has stated they want to remove physical media. I have to rant. So, Sony has recently announced that in January 2028, they will cease to continue developing physical media for PlayStation hardware. This is bundled with Sony closing the digital stores for the PS3 and the PS Vita in the near future. Along with that, Microsoft is looking for ways to digitize your physical library, as Sony has deleted over 500 movies from people's libraries. This tells me one thing: corporations want you to own nothing and be happy with it. Now, my personal stance is that a console will eventually become a worthless pile of junk without some form of disk drive or physical media option. After all, a console isn't exactly a gaming PC. The general idea, however, why a company like Sony would not be allowed to remove your ability to own and play physical media involves consumer ownership and corporate control of the market, that type of stuff. In other words, screw Sony. Why PC gets away with no disc options, however, well, it's because it's a PC. This means that there's a level of flexibility that the consoles don't have. These include multiple storefronts, including storefronts like GOG, providing proper digital ownership by not having any form of DRM. There's various fan projects such as Gears of War Redux, which is what you're watching gameplay of, by the way, that can keep your purchase alive. Places such as My Abandonware to make certain purchases widely available to the general populace if they're just not available. There's emulation, and of course, I will never condone it, but you can sail the high seas to get those games that Sony refuses to make easy for you to purchase. And this is, of course, on top of the fact that you can put the .exe files and such onto your own disk and make your own physical media. So, until the PS5 or PS6 has every single safeguard I mentioned, along with a refund policy on par with, or even better than Steam, I refuse to be nice to my PS5 collecting dust. Now, contrary to popular belief, we still get plenty of proper physical games. The general process for how your disc copy traditionally works on console nowadays would be that the data on your disc is duplicated and installed onto your console. And this really started with the PS3, but really became standard practice during the PS4 and Xbox One. But the idea is that it will allow for games to run smoother with a quick install from the disc, and this has been the norm for quite some time. Now, when I check and test various games myself as well, this is still quite the norm. Yes, some games require extra online downloads of files, but most games still offer most of the files on disk. Now, I would recommend checking a website called doesitplay.org for the actual list of every game that still has a full launch product that you pay for on the disc. Now, do some games have a fraction of the content? Yes. Games like Gears of War Reloaded have the campaign on the disc, and you have to download the multiplayer. But if you ask me, that's a fate way more preferable than having nothing on the disc or being digital only. Now, when I check online, there's still 66% of PS5 releases that contain the full game on the disc, while 16% at least have a playable section of the game's full content, such as my example with Gears of War Reloaded. So in other words, that's 82% of PS5 discs that you can just plop into your console and play without any interaction with the internet in some form. Now you may be wondering, why is this really important? Because this does two things for us. The personal top priority reason is that it gives you a level of ownership. Since Sony is clearly showing that they would be fine with removing your digital purchases from you, let's use an example with a game I love, Space Marine 2. With Space Marine 2, let's say hypothetically Games Workshop and Sony get into a disagreement then digital copies of Space Marine 2 are being pulled from consumers' libraries. I will still be able to put my physical copy of Space Marine 2 into my PS5 and play the game's great campaign and various operations mode missions regardless. Now, would I be able to play any of the post-release content? Probably not, but at least there's a playable version of the game that I purchased available. Because the alternative is that there is no way to play Space Marine 2 again. So, would you rather have a version of the game that is playable, or no version whatsoever? Now, another major reason would be, why don't you want to remove physical media from your console is gaming pricing. As I stated earlier, PC has multiple storefronts, which means that different storefronts have to compete with each other, leading to the best prices for us, even if it's for the same game. For console, the equivalent is physical retailers along with the digital storefront. On PS5, I would have to wait a few times a year for Sony to lower the price of God of War Ragnarok to get it for, let's say, $30 to $40, while other sources like GameStop offer God of War Ragnarok $30 year-round. If Sony were to remove the option for physical game purchases, they lock down their ecosystem to the point where they have a monopoly over everything available on the platform. This means Sony dictates prices, so if they want games to never drop below $70, regardless of quality or age, you are stuck with that price. So if Sony were to never back down from this terrible decision, my suggestion would just be to exit the ecosystem as much as possible. As someone who still owns a PS5, despite switching to PC last year, my PS5 has been relegated to a machine for physical releases that have a version of the game. My PS5 has been relegated to a machine for physical releases and also free-to-play games such as Warframe. Because everything else, I'm not paying for a subscription service to play, especially when I have a decent enough gaming PC. Now, when preparing for this video, I try my best to find the best possible defenses for Sony to remove physical options for consumers, and let's be honest, anyone defending the death of physical media on consoles is just a corporate bootlicking sucker. Yeah, no, I have zero empathy for anyone bootlicking this hard as some of the people defending the death of physical media. And you know what? I just don't care. They're corporate bootlickers. And yeah, we should laugh at them. But in general, removing options for consumers is never a positive. These bootlickers deserve to be gate-kept out of the hobby since they clearly are making it worse for everyone else. With the closing of the PlayStation 3 and Vita online stores, these purchases would turn into bricks essentially if it wasn't for physical options for both. And I'm saying this, by the way, as the owner of a PS3 and a Vita. I understand these are older hardware, but no one would complain if they were still permanent physical options to play these. It is even worse when you realize that this is the future fate of the PS4, PS5, inevitable PS6, and so on. Without physical options, your PlayStation in your home will eventually become a brick. So in conclusion, the industry is in a messy place. But we still get plenty of companies and devs that are doing the right thing. So I want to celebrate those trying to do the right thing. If this is your first time at the channel, I like to recommend indies and lower profile games in every video. So today I actually really wanted to recommend Angels Fall First. It's a recently developed first-person shooter, and when I say recently developed, more so recently released because it has taken 10 years for this developer to make the game. But if you want a really good large-scale sci-fi Battlefield style game, this is the game for you. But that being said, I would like to note this channel is still very new, and I'm still trying to find my groove in This channel is still fairly new, and I'm still trying to find my groove in between work and other obligations. I started this channel, however, to find ways to quickly rant about topics in the industry. I do have a few videos I'm scripting out right now, so until those release, this has been a rant.